How's it going, YouTube? My name is Ernie Stone, and these are going to be my top 6 players that have yet to win a Grand Slam that I think can take the next step and become potentially the best player on planet Earth. This is my first video, a little bit about myself. I was a late bloomer when it comes to tennis. I didn't pick up a racket until I was 15 years old. Between my sophomore and my senior year, I became the #2 singles player on my varsity tennis team. It may not be an achievement on par with, being a former pro in the ATP, but right now I'm like a 5-5 level player. I've got a ton of students. I have an extensive background as a teacher, both at the high school and at the club level. And I just feel like, you know what, I can identify talent when I see it. So I want to get into this a little bit. So the 6th best player that has yet to win a Grand Slam is going to be Hyeon Chung from South Korea. So if you're going to put the injuries aside and you're just going to take a look at who is talented enough to make some serious noise in men's tennis, it's got to be Hyeon Chung at #6. Can't stay healthy. His conditioning is a major issue. He's got a weak serve compared to the other elements of his game, but the other elements of his game are super strong. He moves amazing. He's got unbelievable ground strokes. He's very consistent. I think as long as this guy is able to figure out his conditioning aspect of his tennis career, he can easily win a Grand Slam. So I have him at #6. At #5, I have Alex de Minaur from Australia. I love this guy's consistency. He's made the 3rd round or deeper at every Grand Slam event except for the French Open. I always see this guy in 4 or 5 set matches with top level players, and he's only, 21 years old right now. I just feel like, Kyrgios, that guy is as talented as they come, but I think that ship has sailed as far as Australian players that can maybe win a slam. So I would bet that if it's going to be someone from that country, it's going to be Alex de Minaur. And so I have him as the 5th best player that has yet to win a Grand Slam on the tour. At #4, I have Andrey Rublev. So Rublev is a great player. He's very consistent as well. He made the quarterfinals of the US Open in 2017 when he was just 19 or 20 years old. He made the 4th round of Aussie Open this year until, of course, everything was shut down. And I really expected him to make at least one slam semifinal this year until things were shut down. Very tenacious, just does not get rattled. He seems to rise to the occasion. Mental toughness is a 10 out of 10. He doesn't have the ground strokes or the overwhelming power, but he's a super smart player. He reminds me a lot of David Ferrer, when Ferrer was consistently, the 3rd or 4th best player in tennis, and he made millions of dollars being that guy. Unfortunately, he, of course, never broke through and won a Grand Slam. So I have Rublev here at #4. At #3, I have Dominic Thiem. So Thiem is obviously a great player. He's done pretty much anything you can in tennis in terms of winning an ATP Master Series tournament. He just hasn't won a Grand Slam. I don't really know what the weakness is in his game other than he just hasn't won it yet. I mean, he's got unbelievable technique. He moves very well. I mean, he's 6 feet tall, so it's not like he's too small to play with the big boys. I don't really know why Thiem hasn't won a slam yet other than the greatness that is the top 3 guys. And I'm going to throw Wawrinka in there because I don't know about you, but Wawrinka has plenty of days where he's clearly the best player on the court. And that's when he is facing Djokovic, Federer, and Nadal. So I got Thiem at #3. I would have him higher, but because he's already 27 or 28 years old, I feel like he would have already made that breakthrough if he was going to do it. So I have him a little bit further down on the list. I feel like of the 6 players on the list, maybe he's the best player right now. But again, I'm just analyzing who's young and who has the potential to maybe break through to the next level. #2, I have Stefanos Tsitsipas from Greece. Obviously, just a tremendous young player. He was on fire to start 2019, and I think he tapered off a little bit. So I think as he matures and gets to understand the grind of a full season and gets to know his body a little bit better, then he's going to for sure win a slam. I would put the over-under on him winning a slam at like 70-30, 80-20. I think it would take a massive, massive failure on the part of coaching or injuries for this guy not to break through. I think his ground strokes are great. His movement's unbelievable. He can make any shot. To me, he reminds me a lot of what we wanted Dimitrov to be and what Dimitrov never became. Very entertaining shot maker, but I think he has the consistency to make that second week of the tournament pretty much every single time. Unlike, Dimitrov or Monfils, who on any given day they can be amazing, but they're always going to have those 1 or 2 duds in a 2-week period. It's just predictable. So Stefanos Tsitsipas of Greece, He looks sort of like Jesus. He looks sort of like Bjorn Borg. Maybe he's the same guy. I love that guy. So number 2, Stefanos Tsitsipas. Personally, of the 6, my favorite player on the list. Number 1, I got to go with Daniil Medvedev. I mean, what can you say about this guy that hasn't been said already? The mental toughness is what makes him stand out to me. I'm looking at all the other players on the list and some other people on the tour that have never really broken through to that next level. And at the end of the day, these guys are all talented players. And I think mental toughness is really that missing element that turns those guys and just gives them that little edge that they need to finally become dominant players. And Medvedev's got that. He's got that for sure. He 1,000% has that more than anyone else on this list. And I think he's already pretty much a professional and a champion when it comes to his mindset. As far as his ground strokes go, his backhand's unbelievable, but I think that there's still a lot of room for improvement for him. He's got some awkward timing. His arm will be cramped in a weird angle, but the shot still goes in somehow. So, he's talked about not being a focused tennis player in the past before. And now that he seems to be kind of locked in, I'm really interested to see where his game goes, considering that he's probably not as hard of a worker and has not put in the hours that these other guys have. And yet he's still, the 4th best player in the world right now. So to me, Daniil Medvedev, right now, clear and above the front runner to become the next great tennis player. You'll notice that I made some omissions here, some older players that haven't won a slam yet that I always root for. You have Isner, you have Monfils, you have some other great players. There's no Americans on the list. Taylor Fritz is awesome, but he's still, not there yet. The Canadians, I wanted to let you guys know, I love Shapovalov and I love Felix, but they're just not consistent enough. Shapovalov makes the most incredible shots I've ever seen. I saw him at Indian Wells last year, and he's just a ridiculously entertaining player. The problem is that you just do not know what version of him you're going to get. Felix Augere-Aliassame, I think that's how you say his last name. Another super entertaining player, but I don't want to fall in love with how awesome he is to watch and ignore the inconsistency. And he reminds me a lot of a guy like Joe-Wilfried Tsonga, who on any day, they could just overpower you with their athleticism and their shot-making ability, and they'll reach that apex of high-end Grand Slam finalist. But are they going to do it 2 out of 3 or 2 out of 4 slams in a year? Are they going to do it at all in any given calendar year? And I just don't know that definitively enough to put him on there, though I really, really wanted to. And they'd probably be number 7 and 8 on this list if I had 8 people. So there you go. From a tennis pro, those are my top 6 players that have not won a Grand Slam yet that I think can really make a breakthrough and become the next great dominant players in men's tennis. Thank you so much.